And I just get up every day and I have daily targets and I just push and push and push, right? And that's not, a lot of people don't want to do that.
You've seen him on stages all around the country as a keynote speaker. He's America's coach. Folks, welcome Coach Micheal Burt. Coach, how we doing, baby?
I'm good. Glad to be back here at the HIT Lab. This is a cool place. Thanks for having me today.
Well, we appreciate it, and we're doing a lot of cool things together, ain't we?
We are.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about the Greatness Factory. It's now open in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Nashville's newest thing. And, dude, I'm just amazed at how much traffic has already been coming through that sucker, right? So tell me about the Greatness Factory, Coach.
Well, the Greatness Factory, I had a vision in 2016 to build a Greatness Factory. When I was a high school basketball coach, moms and dads would bring their kids to me. They'd say, my daughter has a lot of potential. She just needs X, right? And they would go through a long list of things she needed: discipline, accountability, structure, focus, confidence. And I would say, thank you for bringing your daughter to the Greatness Factory, where we will manufacture her greatness. So so we go on to build a national championship team, as you know, that went on to win 7 of 9 championships there at Riverdale High School. And then I retire at 31 to build this business, which has become a multi-million-dollar coaching company. And then I kept looking for a bigger play. Like, what's the next big move? And I love inspiration. I love execution. I love real estate. I love coaching. And it's like, how do we build something really cool where people could work, learn, grow, and connect? So the Greatness Factory is a place where people can do all of those things. I call it a destination location. It's a place where you go to work, right? There's people who show up every day and work there. Co-working, private offices. They learn there. Every member gets access to my coaching programs. Those are in-person events, online programs. Then they can connect. There's programs for them to connect, exchange. We're actually going to have a ticker that shows how many millions of dollars is exchanged in the Greatness Factory, which no other place is doing that. And they can really just grow. I think people are looking for an environment they can go and they can be part of something. They can exchange. That's why I use that word a lot. Ideas, energy, money, relationship. This is a natural hub for them to do that. Then we have the amenities, which would be a 109-person state-of-the-art theater, which is custom designed. It's absolutely beautiful. We've got podcast studio where we're going to be doing podcasts with some of the top people in the world there. Already have booked it. We've got 2 cool rooms called the Money Lab, where ideas turn into monetization. And we have the Dream Foundry, and a foundry is a place where you convert raw material to something very special. And so every room has a name: the Level 10 Podcast Studio, the Dream Foundry, the Money Lab, private suites, the residence, the co-working. So it's really a cool place that combines coaching and office at the same place.
And John, we are blessed and fortunate enough to be getting to work with Coach on a lot of those things, especially with things happening on the 3rd floor. Now, everything he just described is really just on the 3rd floor. Like, there's 2 other floors.
So much happening at the Greatness Factory,
dude. Yeah. And like the traffic is real.
Yeah.
And like, who do we already got booked in there, John? Like, there's some stuff coming up here real soon.
Oh yeah, real soon. I mean, the people I can't say, but the ones I can say, let's just say they're the greatest in the country. Entrepreneurs, influencers, people, and you'll see them too. Just, you got to follow the story. You got to follow Greatness Factory online to see them, and we'll save that for later. But just, you got to follow the accounts to check them out for sure. But they're the best in the biz. They're the greatest in the country. They're the influential people in business that are multi-million dollars exchanging that hands. So we're really excited to have them in the building for sure.
Yep.
That's right. So, Coach, tell everybody about. So, there's 3 floors, and you mentioned the Level 10 Podcast Studio, the Dream Foundry, the Money Lab, and the 109-person theater. Talk to them about the 1st and 2nd floors, because I feel like there's not everybody, like you work your way up to the 3rd floor, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But everybody can be great.
Well, I think people are looking for a place to work, right? They're looking for a place to go. They're looking to get out of their homes and go somewhere that is a great environment. If you read my book, Flip the Switch, one of the activators of Pray Drive is environment. And without fail, every person that comes to the Greatness Factory says the same thing. I'm thinking bigger. I'm closing deals. Right? It's the energy. We've had the very first week we were there was $154,000 exchanged and generated in the first 4 days that we're there.
Wow.
Crazy.
And one dude's just like, look, just being here, you can't go to the greatness factory and be complacent.
Come on, say that.
Okay, you can't. It's not the complacency factory. So level 1 is this beautifully designed atrium area where there's co-working, right? It's very dramatic. There's big gears that are coming out of the ceiling. There is a dramatic staircase that goes up to level 2 and 3. There's monitors. There's a coffee shop. So that's a great place for co-working. So if a person says, look, I just want to show up and work, sit down with my laptop, have a great place to work, boom. Now, remember, all of those people get access to my coaching, which is unlike any other co-working space in the world. So not only are you there, there's going to be organic events every single month that those members get access to. They could be education events. They could be entertainment events. They could be edutainment events. But I do a meeting every month for the members called Go to Bed Tired, Wake Up Hungry. So it's a sales meeting for every member. So the co-working is level 1. So think about it this way. I purchased 8,000 square foot inside the 505, which I think is the most luxurious building in downtown Nashville.
No doubt.
And I bought 8,000 square foot of retail space. I took that and converted it to 3 levels. Level 1, co-working. Work, come in, meet, have a cup of coffee, but you get access to the coaching. Then you go up to level 2, which are private suites. There's 10 private offices on level 2. There's also one called the residence. And the residence is where you say, you know what, I don't want to work every day here, but I would like to work a couple days a month here. With that access comes access to the amenities. So you may get access to the podcast studio, the level 10 podcast studio on level 3, or the theater, right? Or the Dream Foundry. You say, I want to take some cool meetings.
Yeah.
So I'm going to offer that to 10 people. I think 5 people have already taken that. So there's 5 people left that get to choose and schedule when they come in and work. And that's called the residence. The other offices are already rented. Most of those people are on 2-year agreements. But we do have a waiting list for people who are ready to go. So if I had to do it again, I'd try to get more offices in there or more residents in there. But man, I've really maximized the space. So that's 1 and 2.
No doubt. I would say you've squeezed every inch out of that sucker that he could do, right?
Yeah.
So John, when I first met with Coach, I'm like, so what are we doing? Let's tell everybody what we're doing at the Greatness Factory. Coach, the founder, he built it, right? All that stuff. So, and I was we were at Bradley's house at a Christmas party, and we were talking about this. And this whole thing goes back to that moment at Brad's house at a Christmas party, right? So John, what are we doing at the Greatness Factory?
I mean, Coach is a visionary, right? He is just an inspirer. He's a motivator and all that thing. With that, you need some executioners, right? And you need a team that goes in there. So what we're doing and what we're excited to partner with Coach is being able to facilitate the engineers and the AV and tech and media and take it to that next level. So every entrepreneur that comes in, every dreamer that comes in gets this level 10 experience when it comes to producing content, producing a keynote or a workshop or anything. So we're partnering with Coach to execute on greatness.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. And that also comes with, there's a lot of content packages that are also offered through the Greatness Factory now, right? So that's right. That's a bonus.
Yeah.
Well, I think people that come there, we live in a world today where I can't remember who it was. I felt like it was Ed Milet, but it may have been somebody else who said to me, this is not business, this is show business. And I've thought my whole life, look, I'll be a great coach and the business will grow because I help people move from A to B in their life. But the truth is, in the world we live in today, the way you become a person of interest, right? When I wrote the book, Person of Interest, I actually wrote the book before social media was big.
Okay.
And that concept is bigger today than it was 10 years ago when I wrote that book, because part of being a person of interest is you have a message. You have a mission. You have a lot of movement. You have monetization. So you become known for your skill set. And then you market the skill set. That's really what people are paying for. You have a very specialized skill set. But what if people don't know that you have this skill set?
That's right.
So where the media packages come in is you've got something valuable. It's rare. That which is rare is very valuable. You want to get that message to the world to become known. And the more known you become, the more leads you get, the more opportunity you get. So when you see us talk about the podcast studio or the theater or the AV packages or your keynote, all of this helps you raise your person of interest score in the marketplace.
That's right.
And so what I said is, look, this is how I became a person of interest, through speaking, coaching, training, intellectual property, licensing, publishing. This is how I went from being a high school basketball coach to where I am today, right? Because people said, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? And I go, man, I just came up with the message. I had a big mission to go help a lot of people. I had a lot of movement. and all of that. And I have a very special skill set in packaging and monetization. See, the Greatness Factory is a commercial real estate play, but it's a very sexy commercial real estate play.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it adds all of the, I bet you didn't think it's bald-headed dude be talking about sexy plays. But it's like, I want to take boring real estate, and I studied these models for years, guys. It wasn't like I just rolled in and built this thing. Like, I literally studied for years in market research on what they didn't have. There's no co-working spaces that have access to the coaching like this. There's no organic networking like this. There's none that bring... It's like here's a little dumpy podcast studio over here. Go figure out how to use it. Nobody's bringing in top engineers. Nobody's bringing all this together into one thing, and that's just based on my unique past and my unique skill set. So, like Walt Disney said, he's going to build a park that was better, different, and more magical. And I go, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a place that's different. It's better. It's a lot more magical than the other co-working spaces. And I don't even consider it a co-working place. I consider it like a hub where people go because they want to be great.
That's right.
Right. And they happen to work there, and they happen to learn there, and they happen to grow there, and they happen to connect there. I'm providing the space. I put up the money to build the building, right? And it's how would you like to participate in this? At this level, at this level, at this level.
That's right. So literally, like, people can start on one end of the curriculum and work their way all the way up, just like in education.
They can start and say, I want to start at $500 a month in the co-working, and they get you access to this. Plus, I'd like to do some podcasts. Plus, I'd like to do this. Or they can go up to level 2 and get that included in some of their packages, right? And or they can just say, look, I want to rent the theater, which is what a lot of influencers are doing. All people have to do is walk in that theater. Now, you've been in a lot of theaters, Nick, because you were in that business for a long time. There's very few in Nashville that are designed like that one.
I'd say zero.
You know, and I'm biased because I designed it with the help of the people, but I just don't remember being in a space in Nashville that's like that, that's intimate like that, that has the capabilities of this theater.
That's right.
To where, you know, I've spoken in a lot of places, country clubs, hotels, carnivals. That's another story. but man, I've been all over the world, speak cruise ships, and most places are not designed for this theater. So Cody Askins, this young guy who has the 8% Nation Conference, has gone all over the country. He came and used the theater before it was even finished.
That's right.
And he said, of all the places we've been, this is by far the coolest. The intimacy of it, the energy of it, from the speaker to the audience. So we're about to bring in musicians. Like, we're testing it this Thursday with musicians on that for concerts. So you could rent it and say, I want to do a cool night with this musician with 109 people, and it's going to be just entertainment, right? Or we're going to do both. We're going to entertain and we're going to educate, because I'm bringing Dustin Black in, who founded Black Tie Moving, franchised it, became a multi-millionaire, then decided at 40-something years old, I'm going to be a country music singer, which is cool. So he's going to come in on April 20th, these cool nights with wealthy people. He's going to sing some songs, and then I'm actually going to interview him on how did you do this? Like a lot of people don't start at 40-something years old and be a country music singer.
That's right.
How did you have the guts to do it? So that'll be a night of socializing and a little bit of learning.
Well, you know, you're right about that. The theater, it is 100% one of a kind. You know, John, what was your thought when you first laid eyes on it? Because there's so, like he was just mentioned, there's so many concepts all the way down from keynote speakers that need content to promote signature keynotes, whatever else they got. Like, there's so many applications for that sucker.
Absolutely. I think like the first impression I had was like the awe factor. Like, you walk in and you're just like, whoa, this place is special. And like, you walk in, you see this big LED wall, and you're just blown away. You're like, wait a minute, content's going to be living up there? My content? That's amazing. And then you see the seats come in, and it's just gorgeous. And it's not like any seats, by the way. They're one of the comfiest theater seats I've ever sat in.
I know.
And I'm not just saying that to say there's no place in Nashville or surrounding cities like the Greatness Factory. That theater is one of a kind. It is unique, and it is very special. And there's going to be a lot of things coming out of that theater that will actually surprise us.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, it's like, you know, Coach, you were just talking about, we talk about the power of proximity all the time around here. Like, it's, you know, to be a fly on the wall in that room, you know what I mean? And just when you think about the talent that's going to be coming into that place day in and day out on a national or even international level, you know, how could you not want to be in proximity to all that?
Well, it's what I'm saying. It's a natural hub. The concepts attract people. Right. And once the people come into business, then it's like, okay, let's do deals with each other. Let's do opportunities with each other. So it's not forced. a lot of these networking groups have forced, I don't really know you, but I need referrals from you. And it's very awkward. This is like we're all coming together because we want to be great, right? Then we've got these incredible concepts we're learning from these people. And I'm kind of going into my network, bringing all of these really cool people in to do events with, right? Like this week, I'm doing an event for our group with Adam Coffey, who wrote 3 bestsellers, who exited, or been a part of 58 acquisitions, worked under Jack Welch for 10 years, 2.1 billion in exits. Like, it's not, these are some of the best people in the world that I'm exposing this network to. And if you're in there, I'm like, hey, this is open to all of our members at the Greatness Factory. This is open to the people on level 2, right? So it's like, how could you not just get better there?
We got to give a shout out to your decorator, right? So, Coach, you hired the best in the business, but she only works for you, right? She only works with you, I should say. So, I mean, seriously, you've spared 0 expense. It's unbelievable. Every piece of furniture, every light fixture, it's level 10, top quality. Well, whose beautiful eyes brought all that to life?
Well, my wife has a natural affinity for design. And she designs all of our real estate around the country. So she did our big lodge up in Christiana, Tennessee. She did this. She did our houses, everything. And so there's 2 things we did. We hired one of the top architects in Nashville, architectural firms that does all the cool restaurants. Okay. And they've got some high-end taste. As Tony Giannottini said to me one day, they're operating up here in self-actualization. And he said, we're down here in food and water, and they're operating. And so there's a happy medium between self-actualization and incredible. But it's high-end, and it's very expensive to build this. When you build something this unique, it is expensive, but we feel like as soon as you walk in, you're like, this is how this feels.
Oh, no doubt.
This is how this feels. And so, but my wife designed a lot of it. She's down there designing things today, tomorrow, and she comes in and she goes, okay, this color needs to do here. It was her vision for the podcast studio to go, okay, we're going to take the same wood that's in the theater, put it in the podcast studios. Then we're going to put it up on the Dream Foundry on this wall. Then this level 2 needs this. She just knows how to sprinkle things together and really make them look beautiful.
They just kind of flow, you know what I mean? When
that's her gift. That's her gift. She has the gift of hospitality. So when we do events, she thinks about the bathrooms, and there's mints in the bathrooms and mouthwash, and there's, you know what I'm saying? It's like she thinks about things I wouldn't think about.
That's right. And dude, I've been every spot downtown. They're the nicest bathrooms downtown Nashville.
Yeah, that's why I tell everybody too. They come in, I'm like, these are going to be the nicest bathrooms you've ever walked into here in Nashville.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about first, folks. You can check out thegreatnessfactory.com. Check it out online. Keep up with Coach Burt on Instagram, Twitter, and all of his socials at Micheal Burt, and the Greatness Factory is also on Instagram and whatnot. Right, so make sure you're following that. I want to literally talk about the most common question I've got so far is, who can use the spot? Like, that's the biggest thing I want to accomplish today is make sure that the people that need it know that we're speaking to them today.
Yep.
Right. So we've kind of talked a little bit about level 1 and level 2. I really want to make sure that everybody understands all 4 of the spots on the 3rd floor that are so valuable and how they might use them. Right.
Yep. So let's just start with the big one, and that is that theater that we talked about. Now, who could use the theater? Really, anybody that's looking. If you just look at the inquiries we've already had, it's for people who are doing their own events. We've already had one for a reading for a film that's coming out. They want to do a reading, more of an art thing. We've had people that want to practice with live audiences, right? We've had people who want to do entertainment events. So the theater is a 109-person theater, but it really has the capability to do anything. We can live stream in there. We'll be able to live stream if you want to do. I've already live streamed an event in there. It's got multiple. We'll have multiple cameras, so you can film things at a very high level to create cool packages. So those are people who could rent the theater, right? And it's open for anybody to rent. Then we have what's called the Money Lab. And the Money Lab is this really cool room. I got that from my buddy Judge Graham in Texas, who had a Money Lab in his house.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I'm like, now that's a cool idea. It's just a place you come and you talk ideas and monetization. So it's got smart screen TVs, so you can draw big, beautiful windows, right? That you can see out, that's inspiring. And it's just a place to sit. So where I do my one-to-one coaching clients that come in, we go to the Money Lab and we work on monetization. We deconstruct the business. We look at how the business can make more money. But it's capable of 8 to 10 people. You can sit mastermind. We've had people phone on Sunday afternoons that we just want to sit and talk business. That's the Money Lab. And you can rent the Money Lab per hour. If you want to rent the theater and rent the Money Lab, so you got a a room to congregate or hang out, or you could do that. Then we go over to the Dream Foundry, which is more of a mastermind room. It's got 12 to 15 seats. What's really cool about this room is you could actually have a dinner, a private dinner there. There's a prep catering kitchen in the Greatness Factory, so you could bring that in. And the cool thing about their room is you can open all of those doors to the outside. And at night in Nashville, it's just one of the coolest rooms ever because you can hear the music from downtown, but you're not downtown.
That's right.
You're 2 blocks off of downtown, but you can hear the energy and people are moving. So I see that as like a great mastermind, a private dinner, an investor meeting, somewhere to get together. Maybe you have a few drinks and you just talk ideas, right, in that room. And then you move to the podcast room. And you could speak more to what the podcast capabilities are, but we're really putting this cool wood paneling on the podcast studio. And then we're able to do, world-class podcast in there.
Absolutely. The one thing I love about the podcast room is how versatile it is. So if you want to do like a hosting of a show, or if you want to have like a lounge feel, it's really designed to be multifaceted. And it is literally one of the most high-end podcast studios in Nashville. Mm-hmm. So it's really, you got to get your hands on the podcast room. Yeah. If you want to produce greatness, you got to come there and check it out. And it's really catered to multiple podcasts. So you could like have your brand colors, LED walls, like all these lighting, like it could be to your brand and feel like a diverse kind of feeling of a podcast studio. And it's also just a level 10, like the most awesome gear out there, the most high-tech gear that's on the market is being run. And we have the most qualified engineers for sure running your podcast. So you don't have to go in there and be like, what do I do? How do I push this?
Yeah.
Now, like we bring the engineers to every podcast. So that's also something about the Greatness Factory that you need to know.
No doubt.
Yeah. And I had to get one of them Brad Lee desks. I just said, make it look like that. And it can change colors. So it's got different colors in it. The top lights up, so it's a really cool custom made desk. But the point is you could show up, the engineers will be there. Mm-hmm. You go in and do a world-class podcast, and then it's all handled for you.
That's right.
And that's really what I think people are looking for in today's world. Yeah. And that's what you'll be able to do at the Greatness Factory.
Well, at the end of the day, if you're directing and producing your own podcast, it's going to take away from the quality in which you actually podcast or interview somebody or whatever it is. It's a lot to think about. It's a full-time thing. There's multiple people in the room around us today making sure that we can be focused on just what we're doing right now and not sound and lighting and all those other things, right? So that's what that's what you find in the real serious like veteran podcasters. Right. You know what I'm saying? The higher end production. Shoot, man, I don't even know how to work half the stuff in this joint. You know what I mean? John is the man when it comes to that stuff and the rest of the team, right? Well, heck yeah, man. Well, there's four top rooms. It's absolutely incredible. Coach, when like everything that I have at my spot, it was built for it was stuff that I needed or the businesses that we had invested in had kind of needed. Is that really what the Greatness Factory came from? It was like, what do me and my clients all need at the same time type thing?
Yes. It's like, it's a place where you want to go to work. Do you know how, there's places I've worked where it's like, you see this happening with hotels around the country. They're building these beautiful lobbies where people can work, and it's like, I travel so much around the world. I'm like, that's a cool feature that this place makes you want to work. It's inspirational, right? The big windows at the 505 that you're looking out, the movement that's up and down the street going down to Broadway. It's like you don't want to leave.
That's right.
It's like when I have to leave the Greatness Factory in the day, I'm like, man, this is such a cool place to work. You want to go there. You don't want to leave. And the feedback I'm getting from the members on level 2 is I'm doing bigger deals. Yeah. I'm thinking bigger. We have people that fly in from Michigan, people that fly in from around the country who have an office there that go, when I'm in town in Nashville, man, I'm just loading up business because it's just such a hot market, number one, but it's such a great place to work.
Absolutely. I feel like when you walk in there, anything is possible in business. And there's like no ceiling when it comes to creativity, when it comes to thinking bigger, right? Stepping in that higher potential, that level 10 mentality. I feel like you just activate that prey drive.
Well, I think that's part of my background as a basketball coach. The very first thing I did when I took over the program was I tore down the locker rooms because they were awful. Mm-hmm. And I rebuilt them to where there's world-class locker rooms. The players felt like they were world-class. They wanted to be there, right? And when I travel around the country and I see cool ideas, I'm like, that's an idea we need in the Greatness Factory. Like that inspires me. Or this hotel room has got this cool feature to it. Or, it's like I just am a collection of all of these things and I keep notes on everything. And I'm like, I want this to look like this and this to look like this. And this is when I'm at my best. This is when I'm operating in a flow state.
Yeah.
No doubt. Is it safe to say, I heard a keynote speaker define what impact was. And I thought it was one of the, basically she said, when you live out your God-given gifts in the marketplace, that's when you make an impact.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard it said that way before. And I thought, man, that was solid. You know what I mean? And that's basically what you're describing right now is like a man's life or what his thoughts make of it.
Yep.
Right. So, I'm as big as I believe I am right now. If I believe I'm going to be bigger, I probably will be.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I'm big as far as, how many people I reach and so on and so forth. I'm sure with all the Easter candy laying around my house right now, I can get big real quick. You know what I mean? But like, that's just a place where people go make an impact. And you're right, man, that second floor, there's killers on that sucker.
Yeah. And I think, I've been talking about this concept for a lot of years. I think it's inspiring to see people take ideas and see those ideas through to their conclusion. Right? Like don't tell me you're going to do something bigger. Show me you're doing something bigger. And I think building a greatness factory, people are like, man, that dude's serious. Like he's really going to build it. Right. Mm-hmm. I love coaching. That's all I've known for 33 years, but I feel like I'm so much more than a coach. I'm really an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
I really see things and I have a very special skill set in coaching, but I also see a bigger play, and just like everybody else, I'm looking for bigger plays. So my goal would be to get this thing out in other markets. Once we see that it's working right and we work out everything to start to take it to other markets.
No doubt. And John, I want to ask you this because I'm going to tell you guys, Coach mentioned that he's a little bit different. He's not just a coach. I'm going to talk to that a little bit. Like I want to hear from you in just a moment about the more you've gotten to know Coach, the more like I feel like every time I peel another layer and I get more into the into that onion, I'm like, daggum, like I get every layer I'm more and more impressed, right? Yeah. So Coach, if you weren't coaching, if you weren't 20-time author, which is incredible, best-selling on multiple lists, if you weren't literally given a keynote, like it seems like it's 4 or 5 days a week all over the place, if you were just a real estate guy, they would be like, man, that guy's kicking butt. You know what I mean? Because you got the Lodge in Christianity, you got your place in Watercolor, you got your place in Murfreesboro, right? You got the place that the Greatness Factory downtown, plus you have property up on the 505, which you're right, that is one of the greatest spots in Nashville, in downtown Nashville, hands down. And then, one of the coolest things to do when you start really making it and you fly a lot is you start chartering a plane, but you don't even have to do that. You just get in your own plane and you go. It leaves when you tell it to leave.
That's right.
The more I learn about you, Coach, it's so impressive. Yep. And honestly, I know a lot of successful people, and it's not to take away anything they've done. I feel like your portfolio is just stronger.
Yep. Thank you.
You know what I mean? Was all that intentional when you built it that way, or was it just like,
No.
this makes? I remember you had an RV at one point in time.
I did. I remember that RV. I loved it. I bought an old RV and I was going to travel on like a tour bus, and I completely redid the inside. And I was so naive when I bought that RV. I asked the person when I bought it, I said, is it okay? Can I take a shower driving down the road? And they didn't tell me about the shocks. It wasn't great to work on. Like you're bouncing up and down on this thing. But, then I went to a Mercedes Sprinter and it was nicer, right? And it was like custom made. And no, I was a basketball coach. And I think I just learned a grit and a toughness to go out there into the marketplace. And then I learned monetization. And then I learned what my special skill set was. And then I figured out where I could take that skill set. And I think just to, you asked me, I think one night, like, how did you do all this? I think we're at the Greatness Factory. Like, how did you do all this? And I went home and thought about that. And I told my wife, I said, Nick asked me this question about how we've done all of this. And at the end of the day, I'd like to say it's genius, but it's not. It's really just a pure grit and resilience. I just have a long obedience in the same direction. And I just get up every day. And I have daily targets, and I just push and push and push, right? And that's not, a lot of people don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So I get up every day. Everything I tell other people to do, I do. I call leads. I follow up. Yeah. I still work the system. Everything I teach people to do, I try to do, right?
That's right.
I haven't gotten to a point where I go, I'm not doing that anymore. Even if I don't enjoy doing it, I'm like, this is what it takes.
That's right.
To have these things, right? It's like when I go I was, in Watercolor last week with my family, and people's like, well, don't you ever vacation? I'm like, well, the work paid for the house. I don't have the house if it ain't for the work.
That's right.
So I get the work in first, and then I enjoy the house.
That's right.
And that's not how a lot of people think. It's like, I'm broke, but I'm going on vacation.
Yep.
And I don't think like that. I think, look, I wouldn't have the house in watercolor if I didn't get after it every day. So I just think that come from coaching and the way I was raised, and just show up and do what you said you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, John, what's some of the things that the more you learn about old Coach that stands out?
We could talk about the whole long list of the coaching, the entrepreneurship, just the real estate, all those things. But one thing that really stuck out to me is that you're a family man.
Yeah.
Like you have all this great things happening and going, but at the end of the day, like I'm a dad.
Yep.
Nick's a dad.
Yep.
And I'm always inspired by other entrepreneurs that have their family intact.
Yep.
That their kids love them and their wife is just excited, just to be there and stuff. So I admire that. That's the first thing I see when I look at entrepreneurs. I'm like, what's your family like? Life, right?
Yep.
What's that like? Like, do your kids love you or hate you?
That's right.
Does your wife despise, like all those things, those things really matter. So that's one thing as like we peel the onion, I'm just like, you're a great family man.
Yeah.
Well,
Jimmy Evans, I was watching this. One of my favorite sermons is Jimmy Evans, who calls How to Turn Failure into Success. And he talks about the 7 ways that the world measures success. The world measures success in money and looks and popularity and status and education. And you could actually have a lot of those things and, in my opinion, still be a failure. I could be a great businessman and a lousy dad.
Yeah.
I could be a great dad and a lousy businessman. So I call that the successful failure. Okay. And it's like this afternoon, I'm selling tickets at my daughter's softball game. That's what I'm doing when I leave here today, because my daughter doesn't even really get to play. She's only in 5th grade. She's not great at softball yet. She's much better, but just me being there, she knows dad's there.
That's right.
I grew up, my mom never missed a game I played. And even when I started coaching, my mother was at every game. It's like, man, if I was on the road, my mom's sitting up there, and she's, it's like a good luck charm to me. So to me, I think you can be a successful failure. I could build a greatness factory and not have a family. Yeah. So I call it intentional congruence. Now, the beautiful thing is my wife likes to be involved to the level she wants to be involved. She wants to design it. She wants to, and she's great at what she does. So that's more intentionally congruent than balance, because I still work a lot of hours, but it's like, how do I blend all this together?
Just in working with you, the flow in which John and I work, it just like literally on Easter Sunday night, we've all been out doing great things. It's an amazing day. We got some clients that need some stuff. We're just pinging, checking in. I know Sunday nights is a lot of time when you get a lot of stuff done, reflection and whatnot. And, a lot of times you hear like even my own sister be like, it's my day off. And I'm like, well, what are you taking a day off from?
Yeah. Well, I practice, what it says in the Bible. I do take a day off a week, but that's all I need. I very seldom need more than that.
Yeah.
So I take Saturday off a lot and rejuvenate. But I tell people on Sunday, got up, had breakfast with my family, went to church, came home, had lunch with my family, we did Easter egg hunting. My kids took a nap or break, played softball with my daughter, took my kids to my mom's. I still had time to work 3 or 4 hours.
That's right.
And I look at people and I'm like, now, did I watch 4 hours of football on Sunday or basketball? No, I didn't. But I will watch a big game, right? If it's a big game, I'll watch a little bit of it. But I guess when I hear people think like this, I'm like, I don't understand. I have 3 kids. I got a wife. I got multiple businesses, but I still found time to think and prepare and meditate on my week and get ready for the week.
That's right.
And I don't operate well with that. And I did have a day off, and that's all I need, right? I don't need 4 days off. I just needed 1 day off.
That's right.
And that's the way I operate.
Yeah. Even like, I'm not being a husband and a dad right now, right? However, if I got a phone call right now, I'd be like, guys, I love you. John, I got to roll. You got it from here.
It from here.
and I would go do whatever I had to do. Just like if, we're at home on a Sunday or even a Saturday afternoon, I coach my son's ball team. Dude, it's a full-time job 6 months out of the year, But if something happens at work, I'm like, hey guys, you understand? I got to go. So
right.
Like something's on fire, I got to go handle it. Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't never need a day off from being a husband and father. I just, I take time off maybe, or I take time to focus on other things.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's intentional congruence. I think everything feeds everything. Right. And I think that's a difference between balance and intentional congruence. How do you structure a life where everything feeds everything?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you're trying to grow, like, the work-life balance that everybody's always chasing, if you're trying to grow and improve, like you got to be uncomfortable, right? You're trying to create that place of comfort in your life, whether it be in the gym or whatever it may be. So like if everything in your life is calm and nice and you're not growing, you can't be, right? Is that right, Coach?
Well, I spent about 2 hours with Jeremy Minor, who really is a top sales trainer in the world.
That dude's a real deal.
I mean, he's a beast when it comes to selling. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody as excited that really likes selling like this dude. And we had about 2 hour dinner at Maestro's out in Phoenix a few weeks ago. And, you know, he just, out of everything he said, he's like, where there's no pain, there's no movement. Mm-hmm. Okay. And where there's no tension, there's no movement. And I came back and I told my sales team, I'm like, look, where there's no pain, there's no movement. Where there's no tension, there's no movement. People just do not make a shift in life if there's not enough frustration. And that's just simple, right? Until you get sick of something, you don't move. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, you got to make them relive the past, relive the pain. You got to make them think of the future pain if they don't take an action, right? And I think that one thing is important to everybody. It's funny because in our coaching program today, that's what I was teaching. Is that tension is a good thing.
That's right.
I come from the coaching world. You come from an athletic world. There's all kinds of tension every day between the coach and the players and each other and the players and the opponents. And then you get into the business world and it's so calm. There's no sense of urgency. There's no offense. It's like everybody's playing defense. And it's like, come on, man. Like, let's set a timeline. Let's have a target. Let's finish the deal. Yeah. Let's make it happen. Absolutely. And I think we need more of that intensity. We need more of that tension in the business world for sure.
I agree. Coach, you have, and nothing against Minor because he is fantastic. You've done a lot of stuff with Andy, who's a great sales trainer. You've done a lot of stuff with Brad, who's I think Brad's one of the best, thought leaders with common sense I've ever heard. And it's funny, you know what I mean? You remember what he said, but you're on his podcast and I've referenced this little clip. I want to play it for everybody because I'm going to give them some nuggets. Yeah. It takes the whole sales process, in my opinion, and shows anybody that wants to do anything in sales or build revenue, they could use this clip and just use this one little exercise you said and monetize and grow. Yep. And I'm going to play it real quick because it was on one of your appearances at Brad's podcast, Dropping Bombs. But folks, check this out. Literally, Jim and I talk about this all the time. All right. And I've trained probably, there's been at least 100 insurance agents that have made $100,000 based off this clip. Good. All right. Ready? Here we go. Let's check it out.
I'm losing money just like everybody else is, but I'm aware of the areas I'm losing money in. And now it's how fast can I solve those problems?
And do you work on it every day? Is that what you wake up and focus on?
What I wake up, then I have hacks. My selling hacks are simple. Every day I start off with red zone conversions. And I learned that from Hugh Freeze, the football coach. He scored more points at Ole Miss when he was there than almost anybody. Beat Nick Saban multiple times, and Saban's real good. And I asked him, what were you the best at? And he said, man, I was the best in the world at red zone conversions. Meaning when we get the ball in the 20-yard line, we score touchdowns. And I heard that and I go, man, that's a great sales technique. I want to know from my sales team every day who's in the red zone. Who's the closest to making a decision? That's one hack. Number one, I come in every day and focus on my red zones. Number two, I ask myself, is this a bluegill or a blue marlin? I.e., is it a small fish or a big fish? Blue marlin's big opportunities, big problems, big money. And then I ask myself, what is a level 10 opportunity for me? And that could be through strategic partnership. It's not always selling somebody something. I mean, I'm working on a deal right now that my payout on that deal is like $1.2 million for making an introduction to someone. I didn't wake up and sell a person something. I woke up and connected two people and I said, hey, if it works out, they close like a $900 million deal. The commission's like $70 million. My take is like 1.75%. So it's $1.2 million for me to introduce two people to each other that are going to make a lot more, right? That's still a level 10 opportunity. I see a lot of level 10 opportunities with you because 50% of my population want to be coaches. They're going to need online academies. See, I could assign one person to that opportunity with you and do nothing. I could become the best salesman for Lightspeed ever, right? Yeah. And that would be profitable for me and profitable for you. That's a level 10 opportunity.
And it's recurring revenue. So when I wake up in the morning, I focus on my red zones, my blue marlins, and my level 10s every day. I'm prospecting every day. I'm doing something to generate new money every day en route to my dominant focus, which is the number I'm trying to hit every 30 days.
Woo!
Reminded me. Yep, they reminded me. But that's true. I do that every day.
It's so good.
Red zones, level 10s, blue marlins.
That's right.
And if you could stay there, there's going to be more money made through strategic partnership.
That's right.
Probably than any other time, right? Mm-hmm. Sullivan called it the $15 trillion zone, where there's collaboration that's happening. because he believes there's going to be that much money generated just in his networks between members just doing strategic partnerships. And the more you think about strategic partnerships, you have a skill, I have a skill. It's like, how do we put those skills together and collaborate on those skills and really do something bigger together that we could never do individually?
That's right. That's literally how we got in this room together today, right?
That's right. Well, money changes hands when problems are solved. My problem was I got a studio, I got a place, and I need people to help me with that, right? Because that's not what I do. I can bring the people to the party, right? But we need people to service those people, to execute, and we need to know that it's consistent and done professionally. That's right. Especially for the kind of people we're bringing there.
No doubt.
Yep.
No doubt. On that, I like to give everybody the nuggets, but even then, we took that, working with all those insurance agents, we took that clip and basically like, so once we get past the red zone, then what happens next? I'm like, well, number 2, call on your biggest advocates, current clients, people that will give you a referral, right? People that know who you are, what you do, they understand your brand, and they have confidence sharing that with somebody else, or they can identify who your customer is. And then the third priority would be calling new money. You know what I mean? That's where people hadn't heard from me before, replying to ads from boosted posts, whatever it may be, and so on and so forth, right? And John, you're the man that understands how to take a process like that and market it.
That's right.
And market it. Yeah. So can you tell us or leak any of what we're going to be doing at the Greatness Factory as far as, once they're shooting this stuff, they shoot the podcast. Yeah. We're filming all their meetings in the Dream Foundry Money Lab. They're filming the dinners. They're filming their stuff in the theater. What's some of the content that can be delivered from that?
Man, it's endless, really. There's like an infinite amount of content. And here's the thing. You could come up with $1 million idea, and it could service a lot of people, and it could change lives, but no one would know about it if we don't capture that content and we don't put it out there. Correct? Right? So that's the beauty of what we're doing together, is that from podcasts to recording workshops to recording even anything from the theater turned into high quality. And here's the thing that separates you from the noise of the market, because I know a lot of people that come in here, they come in noisy industries, saturated, right? And everyone is trying to get really loud, and it just gets really noisy. But the thing that separates is that the fact that you're in the Greatness Factory producing high quality, disruptive content that will stop the scroll, it is just going to be a game changer, because no one's seen anything like it before. And that's what we're producing at the Greatness Factory.
No doubt. And at scale. Scale. Yeah. So, Coach, you and I and John have you were kind enough, as a matter of fact, I do a monthly mastermind for the Hit Lab. I've had some amazing guest hosts on that sucker with me, but we've got a special one in April, on April 18th from 12:30 to 2:30, and you are opening up the doors, and we're going to be giving a free tour of the Greatness Factory, and you're going to be coaching everybody in attendance for an hour. And they literally, all they got to do is show up, find a parking spot, and show up.
Yeah. I think we call that the showcase. So if you're out there and you're thinking about getting better, and you want a better life, and you want a better opportunity, and you're performing at a level, but you want to get to another level, then that's a great chance to come in, tour the Greatness Factory, sit in the theater, get coaching. There's a lot of people out there who are level 10 people stuck playing at level 4 levels.
That's right.
And what they need is to find their unique skills, package those skills, market those skills, and ultimately monetize those skills. And they don't know how to do it. So on that particular day, I'll coach for an hour, and we'll just break down the formula on how you could do it.
It's incredible. I tell you, one of the things I'm most excited about, just from being in proximity at the Greatness Factory, is, I've been working with brand builders. Are always saying, Nick, one of the next things for you is you really need to, you've got playbooks, you've got all these things that you're doing for other individuals, but how could you package that into signature keynote speeches, right? So for me, I understand that, a guy like me that's in my spot, you need to rehearse these things. You want to film those rehearsals, right? Almost just like sound check does for all the country music artists in town. You want to videotape it. You can go back and watch it, but you'll get content from that you can use to promote those signature keynotes. So literally, you rent the Greatness Factory just to rehearse, and we can put a live audience in there for you if it need be, right? If you need some heads in the front, whatever it is. But then that, literally, whatever you spend renting that facility, it's going to make itself back 10x just because you're going to use that footage as promotional to go get those keynote gigs that you want so bad, right?
Absolutely. I think about that all the time. The investment that you're putting into your brand is everything, right? So if you're going to put in an investment like the Greatness Factory and show up, book out that theater, it's going to make you 10 times as much as you put in, because that's what it's designed to do.
Yep.
That's why it's incredible.
Coach, there was something else too that you said about, you've got the kitchen, so tell everybody about the kitchen services you have in there again. So it's
a prep kitchen. So it's not a full kitchen, but it's like we do have a private elevator that comes up. So you put the food on the private elevator, it comes up to the prep kitchen. Then there's ways that we have designed through the hallways that I've all redecorated and made better so that they takes you over to the rooms. So if you wanted to have a private dinner, let's say you have a conference. Let's say you have a conference and you want to have a private VIP for 15 people. They eat together. They get the extra time with you. That's a way to use that. Or if you want to have a cool dinner and just, meet and greet over dinner. Sometimes that's where the best business ideas come from.
That's right.
Versus this formal setting. So that room is really designed to do small group mastermind all the way up to, these private dinners that I'm talking about.
So, and by the way, we're downtown, right? So it's on the third floor of the 505. You mentioned that, like, folks, you're literally looking out over a road. Like, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Like the views. I mean, and where else downtown can you have a dinner meeting like that, like we're talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I saw where Garth Brooks had a level where you could do meetings, and I'm like, man, I think it's a great idea to make money, I guess, but I don't know if I want to have my business meeting at Friends in Low Places. I'd like to go there to have a drink and listen to country music, but I couldn't put it together to do those things. But I think this is like a business center. But there is a little bit of entertainment value to this too. Like when I do the 20th Cool Evenings with Wealthy People, and my wife said, "Are you really going to call it that?" And I said, "Yes," because people are fascinated by people who have done something big.
That's right.
And they want to know, how did you make money doing this? So it's like, okay, that's more of an entertainment event. It's open to the public. Right, it's free. You enroll. You got 109 spots. You're going to be around great people. You're going to mix and mingle. There'll be a social element to it, and then there'll be a little bit of education. Now, this Thursday, by the time we play this, it'll be already done. But I'm doing like competitive intelligence there. It's a boot camp. People can pay $297 and come and spend a day with me. It's incredibly affordable for people. My members get access to that, so all the people who are members actually get that for free. So when they're looking at, okay, could I work over here? Then I got to go get coaching over here. Or could I just go to work and go upstairs and get a day of coaching? Or could my team get coaching?
Yeah.
So that's the unique differential advantages. I do look for a deep advantage, right?
Absolutely.
In everything that I'm doing. It's like, what is that slight edge? And to me, the coaching and the environment and the network is the edge at the Greatness Factor. They did studies at WeWork, and I'm a big fan of WeWork, especially when it was working. They actually generated $1.8 billion, 400 locations, 400,000 members. I actually believe the concept worked. Then they had a spending problem. They spent $1.9 billion, but it wasn't that the concept didn't work. But they did studies that showed 69% of the people there said there was no meaningful exchange.
That's right.
And the whole thing was built on community.
Yeah. Right?
How it was designed for community, but there wasn't this community based on what they found. And I think at the Greatness Factor, you're going to find the exact opposite. I think the numbers would be the opposite. I think it'd be 70% of the people said there's meaningful exchange.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it's structured. And I just don't think that's how a lot of people who build co-working spaces think.
They definitely don't, do they, John?
No, and it's so funny. Every single time I step foot in the Greatness Factory, I literally have a meaningful conversation with someone I have never met before, but they're doing incredible things in the community or even nationwide around the world. And it's incredible. And literally every time I come up, and I've been there a lot.
That's right.
So it's like every single time, though, it never fails. I have a meaningful conversation, very productive, and we always exchange numbers. It's like, wow, I didn't know you were doing this. This is what you're doing. This is great.
Yeah, and it attracts people. We had a young guy today that just wanted to come in and meet, who's doing big things in the Latin community, and he's like, man, I just want to come see it. And then it's like, okay, how do I do something here? Yep. Could I do an event here? Could I be a member here? Now, so it's like it sells itself once you get in the doors. So our job is to get as many people in there as we can. At the end of the day, that's our job.
I'm big on filtration or qualification, and making sure that if I'm going to be working there, that I'm surrounding by people that are part of my growth.
Yep.
And that's something that I know you take a lot of pride in at the Greatness Factory. Plus, just like you said, there was nobody there like you making sure that, hey man, like, why aren't y'all talking about this? That type thing, that kind of accountability factor.
Yeah, and introductions. I mean, I do believe you're one person away from a new season in life, and we, we've got a lot of connections to a lot of people. And it's like, I'm going to introduce you to this person. Let me introduce you to this person. And if you'll just have an open mind, right? And then just be open and then follow up, go from mental creation to physical action, like get into action on that. There's no way you couldn't be a member there and figure out a way to generate some income.
That's right.
I mean, there's just, in my opinion, I was telling the guy the other day who got an office for 90 days and he was looking at it. He said, if I pay in full, and he's going through this, I said, man, there's no way you could be here and not generate enough income to pay for this. And he come for 1 week. He was planning on moving to New York City. He came for 1 week, said, forget New York City. I'm staying here. He's like, I'm showing up here every day. And it's, it's like, I knew that.
That's right.
I already knew that. But just getting another person to believe that, it's like, man, I'm telling you, just trust me on this, man.
I think it's so good. I think you would be 100. I think it would be 100% justified if coach was like, "Hey, man, every deal that happens here, I need 10% of it."
Should be a sign out front.
I know that I was looking at some space in watercolor this weekend in Water Sound when I was down there for a greatness factory, and I was kind of negotiating with the woman, and she said, every tenant that we have does pay a percentage of revenue back to the landlord. Mm-hmm. And have you seen this before?
I have.
Do you think that's common or uncommon?
I think the more, some people are weird about rev share, but I'm like, the more people that are motivated for the same thing, I feel like you're going to hedge your bet and grow faster. So I like even seriously, and this is something that Brad probably don't even know, even though I've mentioned it to him. We had this conversation that led to all this at his house.
Yes.
Right. So he's in my mind, Brad's he's a part of me in this deal, even if it's just a small part.
Right.
Just because why would I want him to stop saying, man, every time I get hired in a room, something good happens and I get something back?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way because as I was talking to this woman and we were negotiating, she's like, well, a percentage of the revenue comes back to the landlord. And I said, is that so a percentage of the restaurant, like Ambrosia that's down there, comes back to the landlord? Is that what you're telling me? And she said, yes. And I said, percentage of the ice cream shop comes back to the landlord? She said, yes. And she said, what do you think about that? And I said, well, I think it's a great deal for you. I'm not sure if it's a great deal for me, right? I said, because the truth is you can make a lot more money with me partnering.
Absolutely.
Than a transaction fee. Mm-hmm. And if you could get that in your mind, she couldn't see that. And I'm like, it's okay, because there will be somebody who does see it.
Absolutely.
And so that was kind of, it's like, be open to anything, closed off to nothing, right? Be open to the possibility here. And versus just saying no right out of the gate, right? I was watching this thing with the founder of KKR, the real estate team, and he said when he interviewed people, if they put salt on their meal before they tasted it, he never hired them because he's like, they're not open. They've already made up their mind about things. So he said he watches to see if they put salt on their meal before they taste it.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're out. So, and I think, there's open-minded and there's closed-minded people.
Alfano told me, John, last week, he said, when I'm working or deciding to work, he has a coaching program, which is great. When he's going to take on somebody, he says, I take them out to eat at a restaurant that's a lot like a national chain, but it's unique to the spot. And I just want to see how indecisive they are when making a simple decision of what they're going to have for lunch. Yep. He's like, if it takes them 10 minutes to figure out one meal and they're going to eat in another 6 hours or whatever it is, he's like, they're indecisive. And now I know who I'm working with. Yeah. There's so much when you read people like that, right?
That's right.
Well, John, what are some of the things that you're most excited about with working with Coach? I know for me, every day I think about something new. I'm like, oh man, again, Coach is somebody that I've considered. I've studied him. It's been great to call him a friend. I call him a mentor, right? So, Coach is doing what I believe I'm doing, and he's helping somebody that he used to be, right? Coach is where I'm at not that long ago. Yeah. What's something that you're most excited about with working with Coach and the rest of the squad out there? Because I got to tell you, what you're doing with them engineers is unbelievable.
Thank you. Yeah. What I'm really excited is really just proximity. I believe creativity only happens in proximity. Mm-hmm. And we need more creativity in businesses today. Yep. And we need to get in proximity, and I think that proximity is going to be key to growth for every business, including ours and all that. But man, proximity to greatness, proximity to mindset, proximity to destroying limiting beliefs, even for our engineers, they're just like, I'm just so grateful to be here, and that feeling of gratitude, and just being like, I'm just so glad I'm in the room, to proximity, to hear the things that I get to hear, to listen in, to be a fly on the wall, but also just hearing that there could be a bigger possibility, and I'm excited to see who shows up, to be honest, you know what I mean? We got some exciting people coming even in the month of April, it's getting booked out. So if you you gotta go and book your time because it's already going to be booked out. I could already imagine being months in advance booked out. Like there's going to be a line out the door. So get in there as fast as you can and book out. But I'm just excited about the proximity.
No doubt. Coaches, so you mentioned Cody Askins, who's a beast in the insurance space and the event space. He's already had an event in there. You've had a few. Can we tell anybody that's on the calendar that's booked? Can we do that yet?
I think we've got some national, what we consider national influencers who are coming in April to do everything from virtual events, podcast studios. I'm in talks with Rory Vaden, as you know, with Brand Builders. He came over and we've talked about using the theater there. Taylor Welch, who's a major internet marketer, is already booked it. He walked in and said, I'll take it 5 times. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, these people come in and they don't play around. It's like they're very decisive. So it's like, hey, I'd like to book this theater 5 times. Hey, I'd like to get the podcast studio. Hey, I'd like to do this, because it isn't elevated. So what you'll see, Bradley's already been there. I think you brought him down one day to check it out. You're going to see a lot of influencers. You're going to see a lot of movers and shakers.
That's right.
You're going to see a lot of people who are doing big things. Obviously, I partner with Tony Giarratana, who's one of the key influencers of Nashville. I mean, we were really partners in this to put this deal together. When people hear the story of how it all came about and how we negotiated and kind of, I was the right fit for what he was looking for. He turned down multiple people to be in that space because he didn't think it was representative of the 505. So the greatness factor is like, boom. So it's like, we're at the big boys and the big girls table. Price Pritchett called it the big table. So if you want a seat at the big table, you got to get in the room with the people who are at the big table. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's why I'm excited about it.
And I can't think of, as far as proximity goes, something that we've learned here at the Hit Lab. And again, everything we do at the Hit Lab is the Greatness Factory is an unbelievable partner and everything that we're doing here is like, we have some world-class podcasters, all that shoot in these studios. And I can't think, like, seriously, guys, like, you never know who's going to be in there. And when somebody does come into town and they want to make the most out of their time and they want to be on 3 or 4 or 5 podcasts in a 1 to 2 day stretch without having to leave, like, I can't think of a better reason why you wouldn't host your podcast at the Greatness Factory at all times, because you never know when somebody's going to call and say, hey, man, we got, I don't know, somebody like Dan Martell or Bradley or anybody else saying he's going to be here on Saturday or Tuesday or whatever it is, and he's looking for another podcast. Do you want to interview him?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Well, a lot of people ask me, they like, how did you get in the rooms with all these people? Like, how are you and Tim Grover good friends? And how did you meet Cardone? And, it's like, how did you speak? How do you, know all these people? And, it all really started, a lot of it through, I had a radio show many years ago on the Fox Business affiliate in Nashville. And that was an AM radio station, but it was on the Fox News affiliate, right? So I could say I have a show on the Fox News affiliate in Nashville. I do it every week. It's called Change Your Life Radio. I'd like to interview you. And that's how I met Marcus Lemonis. It's how I met Grant Cardone. It's how I met Nito Cobain. It's how I met, and I would do these interviews with these people. And then I'd follow up and they'd say, man, you were so prepared. We should be doing something together. Almost every interview led to some strategic partnership. Now, let's fast forward, 4 or 5 years later when I'm speaking at 10X and we generate probably now $2 million plus. That 1 hour podcast, which was radio in those days, really converted ultimately to almost $2 million.
That's right.
It's where I met Bradley and all the deals we've done together. So it's like, to me, this is the new way to spend time with major people. They have a message. You have a podcast. It's up to you, though, to go back and find, and I give you credit, the prey drive in you, to see an opportunity with me and go, hey, we need to do something together.
That's right.
Because you saw it, and I remember having dinner with Tony Giarratana one night in Nashville at Jeff Ruby's, and it was celebratory. Like, we're celebrating closing this deal, right? And I just asked a question about, now, how do you raise all this capital for these? He said, I'm so glad you asked that question. He calls his assistant. He said, go ahead and bring one of those prospectus up here for Coach Burt. He'd like to look at it. He used it as an opportunity to see if I wanted to invest with him.
Wow.
And I went to this dinner. We're just celebrating, but he saw an opening. And he had the prey drive, man, to go after it. And I told my wife, I said, I didn't come to this dinner thinking I was going to give him $250,000, but I left thinking if I was going to give somebody $250, it would have been him, right? So I reward people who who see an opportunity and have the prey drive to pursue that opportunity versus go, well, that's an opportunity. Because I've learned the hard way when you don't do that. So let's go back to 10X, Riviera Maya, Cardone. A guy sees me the first day in the gym, said, "You're Coach Burt." So he said, "I'm reading your book right now called Zebras and Cheetahs." That's a book I had out many years ago. He said, "I'm looking for some sales training for my people." And I thought, okay, man, why don't we meet while we're here down in Mexico? That's what I said. This is the young, naive Coach Burt. 2 nights later, he's sitting right beside Cardone at dinner signing a $50,000 coaching contract. And I go, that ain't never happening again. He told me in the gym 2 days before he wanted sales training for his people.
Yep.
I messed around and said, while we're here, we'll talk about it. He told them that, and they were signing a $50,000 deal at dinner right in front of my face.
That's right.
And I'm like, lesson learned. I was just a young pup in those days.
That's right.
But I'm not anymore. So
That's
it's
right.
like, all right, I know how to play this game.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, what is so for everybody as we bring this episode to a close here, let's make sure that everybody that's like, hey man, I need to check out the Greatness Factory. Yeah. By the way, we're hiring, right?
That's right.
If you so there's sales opportunities,
Yep.
There's engineer opportunities.
That's right.
So there's lots of opportunity, whether you want to draw income and represent the Greatness Factory or draw income by investing into the Greatness Factory. That's totally up to you, right? So, Coach, what's the best ways that they can get in touch with folks at the Greatness Factory to get some stuff scheduled?
I think you just go to thegreatnessfactory.com and just make an inquiry. It comes straight to me, comes straight to my phone. It comes straight to our team. We won't mess around, man. We'll call you. We'll see what you're trying to do. We'll get you in the door. Mike White will be on it quick.
Yes, he will.
Right? He'll be like, look, here's a list of 7 people indicated interest. Get them in here. He's like, yes, sir. Done. So it's like, as soon as the deal leads come in and you're interested in something, the first thing I say is come see it. Just come tour it.
Yeah.
Because you'll come and you won't know until you see it. You'll be like, okay, I could definitely see that room. Like Rory Vaden came over. He's like, I could definitely see doing that, my mastermind in that room. And AJ said, I could definitely see us using the theater for this, right? Well, you don't know until you see it.